so don't worry too much. And then we'll get started with the tasting. Lovely. Okay, that's now recording. So, brilliant. Hello, everyone. My name's Ben. I'm the wine buyer and co-founder of Novel Wines, and we specialize in something a little bit different. And one of the main regions of wines we stock are Greece, Greek wines. So we've got a whole array of interesting and indigenous grape varieties. I'm very happy to introduce Zoe Baldry from Raphael's, who will be introducing some delicious olives for you to try alongside the wines, and hopefully get a real taste of the olives and the wine, and a little bit of a taste of a Greek holiday as well. So hello, Zoe, nice to see you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me, Ben. And it's lovely to see some familiar faces here today.
Good, good. So we're going to start by going through how to taste wine. I'll introduce the first bottle, which is the Semeli Mantinia Nasiakos. And then Zoe will take you through the olives and the kind of provenance and story behind the olives. And we'll taste the wines with the olives as well. And for David with his lovely Greek tapas, which will be exciting to hear how it all goes. So the first one is Semeli Mantinia Nasiakos. I just want you to pour enough wine in your glass that you can swirl it round, you can get your nose inside without inhaling it, and be able to have a good look at the colour. And we're just going to go for a whole tasting note with this wine. And then by wine number 2, you guys will be telling me what it smells and tastes like. So don't worry too much. Let's start with the colour. So when you've poured it out, all we're generally looking for with white wines is where it sits on the colour spectrum. So is it looking very nice and light and fresh, in which case you're probably going to be expecting fruit-forward flavours? Or are you starting to get a bit of colour on the wine? When you get colour on the wine, it's usually for 2 main reasons. The first is oak aging, and the second is maturity. Now, as you can see, this is a nice young wine, so it shouldn't have too much colour from maturity at all. And it's coming from Moscow Fleur, which is quite a thin-skinned grape variety. So it should look nice and light and bright in the glass. Give me a nod if you agree, or a thumbs up. Hopefully you do. Yeah, marvellous, lovely. Okay, I promise we will get to taste it in a minute, but the next thing I want you to do is just wake it up, and we swirl it around a little bit just to get some oxygen in the top.
Let me have a look.
And that means you can smell something.
This one?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, thank you.
Spot on. Now, when you smell a wine, I don't want you to sniff. I want you to breathe in normally. So you put the nose into the glass, no shy smelling down here. Nose goes in, part the lips, and then just breathe in normally. Tell me what you smell. Do you smell anything? You can only say wine once. What are we thinking?
It smells fresh.
Yeah, nice and fresh.
Like peaches?
Peaches, yeah, give me a bit of stone fruits.
Nectarines and peaches.
Yeah, some of that Mediterranean warmth coming into the wine, lovely. Is anyone picking up on the lovely floral notes, the kind of blossoms?
Yes.
Yeah,
Floral
Flowers.
good.
I think it's fruity.
I think it's fruity.
Yeah,
Interesting, yeah.
So you might get a bit of
sweet
citrus as well.
fruits.
Sweet fruits, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe a bit of lychee.
Lychee.
Lychee, yeah.
Lychee.
You're not supposed to snort it though. Yes.
Okay, everyone's favourite bit now. I want you all to have a drink. And just remember, if it's your first wine of the day, and I know I say this a lot to the regulars, but if it's your first wine of the day, you're going to feel a lot of acidity at the back, just as your cheeks pull in. So I want you to sip it, get your palate in the mood, and then sip it again. So the second time you sip it, it's going to be really nice and fruity. So just have a drink for me and tell me what you think. Do we like it? Yeah.
They've got Moscow filler in.
Moscow filler.
Oh, unless it's not on mute.
Still dry, isn't it?
It's in my mouth still.
But fruity.
Fruity, yeah. Fruity and light. Nice and refreshing, hopefully.
A bit lychee, I think.
Yeah, good. Picking up on the tropical note. Very nice. Yeah, so we start with
it's
this one
floral.
because it's kind of the softest. So it's
Pick up the
nice and
dragonfly.
juicy, nice and soft,
Are those
quite
flowers still
easy.
out as well?
And big and plush as well. Okay, so while you're sipping that then, I will hand over to Zoe to introduce the 2 jars of olives that you have and a bit about what Zoe does.
Hi, everybody. So I'm Zoe Baldry, and I have, together with my husband and our son Raphael, we have opened a wholesale and import company. We came to Bath 7 years ago for Raphael to start schooling here. He was born and raised in Greece, as was I and my husband. And when we got to Bath, we came from international and hospitality background for many, many years in the Med. And we thought, okay, we'll open up our own little Greek restaurant in Bath. However, there's so many here already, independent restaurants, that we decided to supply them instead. And over the years, we discovered that there was room for some amazing olive oil and olives, and to go into the restaurants and also onto the shelves in supermarkets and delis. And that's how we got to be here. So we very, very carefully source olives from various different parts of Greece, and the olive oil comes from Crete, which is my husband's heritage, his background's from there, and it's just divine. For today, I've got 2 choices, the Kalamata and the green Amphisa. So I put them out in little bowls. Don't know, have you all got some bowls?
Really good.
Thank you. And there's the green, so all olives start off as green. And then as they mature, they become darker. So depending on when you harvest them, they have different flavors. So what the green Amphisa olive is quite round, quite small, and it's quite firm and tart. So if you'd all like to try one, pop it in your mouth.
So I have to say these olives are delicious because when you drop the samples around, George, Eleanor, and I in the shop, we polished off quite a few of them quite quickly. They're very, very nice.
Thank you.
We've eaten half of ours.
They are. We had to save a few for this. We raided them last week, and we've also been searching where to source them, and I couldn't find any.
Okay.
So you let me know at the end, will you? Yeah.
Well, you can buy them through Novel Wines.
Yeah, they're now
On their own.
Novel
I couldn't
Wines.
see them alone. I
Yeah,
could see them
so-
in the package with other wines.
So I've been drinking a bit too much recently, and I'm a bit slow. But I have put the hampers up with all of Zoe's lovely products and some of our wines. And
Okay.
the olives are in the shop. So if you visit the shop, they're in there. But they'll also be going online, so you can combine them with a wine order, and they'll be up probably within the week. Especially now I know you're after some, I'll get them up.
They're
there
wonderful.
quickly.
Yeah.
They're really nice.
Really
Yeah,
good.
yeah. We've hardly
Fantastic.
got any left for this.
And is
So
there
I'll
a right way
save-
to eat an olive? Say, is there a right way to eat it, or is it? Just
Not
however you like?
really, not really. I mean, if you can take it and bite a little bit and then take the pip out, depending on the maturity of the olive. Green olives is not so easy to do because the actual olive fruit is still kind of stuck to the stone. So with the Kalamata ones, it's a bit easier to take the olive stone out. But no, I don't think there's a better way to eat them. Just pop them in your mouth and take the stone out when you're done.
Perfect. Always the best way.
Zoe, perhaps you or Ben can help. When if you're in Jerez, obviously the Manzanilla sherry with olives is a natural marriage.
Yes.
Where do you both feel that olives, say the Greek olives, play when it comes to wine, not food, or are they really separate? That the olives really should be more for food or eating on their own, or where do they play with wine?
Ben?
So good question. So I love pairing quite fun, challenging things with wine. So olives obviously have that nice savouriness, but they've also got the acidity and things like that. And I like the texture matches. So on this one, you have a really juicy, fresh wine. So it might have a bit more of a contrasting kind of match. But as we move through and we get a bit weightier with the Fazzoferi, and then we get into the nice herbaceous style, the quince notes in the Kaidanitsa, you should notice how it changes. And I really enjoy kind of playing with that side of it. So messing around with the textures a little bit. I'm big fan of anything that shares a provenance. So Greek wine with Greek olives, etc. I think you usually can find a way to make them work. And the fun is in playing with them. And the acidities work quite nicely together. I think the challenge is the texture. So you're pairing quite a savory note with often a fruity note in the wine. You can get the textures to gel quite nicely. It can create quite a fun match. So with these olives and the 3 different wines, the aim is to kind of see where you all sit. So what's the favorite pairing for you? And hopefully at the end, all of you say different things, because that's what I like best about the tasting, is you all have different favorites.
Okay.
What about the Kalamata olives? So tell us about those.
So the Kalamata olives are olives that most people have heard of. They're quite a popular olive. They have been dubbed as the king of olives. People may agree with that or not, but they are very well known. They have a completely different shape from the Anfisa one, and they are more of an eye-shaped olive, and they have a little point. They do grow all over Greece. However, they are known as Kalamata as olives because Kalamata is the capital of Messenia region, which is where they originate from. And they have got a quite strong flavor. And they have quite a bit of fleshy texture as well. And they're quite rounded on the palate. But yeah, I invite you all to try one now.
It looks like they're being very nicely enjoyed by everyone. Lots of smiles and full mouths. I like that.
And Ben,
yeah.
The wine is actually it's intrinsically dry, isn't it? The wine, it's dry but floral. It reminds me of being like Greece's equivalent to Gewürztraminer. It's the same effect of an underlying dryness, but with wonderful floral notes to the wine.
Yeah, definitely. The thing I really like about Greek wine is it's always so opulent, but it's still dry and fresh and crisp and lovely. Think of things like Malagosi that actually have low acidity. They carry it with quite rich, depthful fruit. And with all these wines, they're next to dry. I mean, the Someli is 2 grams per litre sugar. If you put that up against a Marlborough Sauvignon Blanc in a supermarket, it's going to be around 7 or 8 grams. So we're kind of at 20, a quarter of what you would expect in a dry Marlborough Sauvignon. So it's got that dryness and the freshness, but it's also got the ripe, lovely fruit there as well. And I think that's the nice thing about Mediterranean wines, is you get that intensity without it having to move into sweetness. And Moscow Filero in particular, as you were saying, it has that floral character that Gewürz and aromatic wines have. So I find it a really nice kind of alluring wine. Good one to get stuck into a Greek tasting and start imagining a holiday with anyway.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, while you're enjoying the first wine and the olives, let me tell you a little bit about the wine and the winemaker. So this is made by Leo, or Leonidas Nasiakos. Really impressive winemaker. He's nicknamed the Master of Moscow Filero. So if you like this, I'm sure you'll like exploring other Moscow Filero wines. This is coming from his single vineyard. It's his ex-family vineyard. So his family name is Nasiakos, and his family's vineyard is about between 400 and 500 meters above sea level, just in Mantinea. So let me take you there best I can. We can't go there. We can't fly out there just yet, but so Greece. Zoe will know this better than I will, but I've only been around here once. But Nemea is where Someli's winery is, which is just up here. But the Mantinea region where the whites are made is just down here. So you'll find Someli's Nasiakos vineyard is just on these hills here. They curve around like a horseshoe, and they sit between 400 and up to 650 meters. But for the Nasiakos wine, it's about 450 meters. That just allows for a little bit of retention of the acidity, because this is a nice hot area. You think where we are on the map in relevance to Europe, we're a lot further south. We're kind of at the Sicily level. Lots of long sunshine, nice dry harvest period, which is perfect for getting that real nice ripeness in the grapes. And you have this intensity of the fruit thanks to all of that as well. It's got a mix of soils there, but it's mainly clay. And clay has a higher water retention. And when you have a higher water retention, you have a plumper grape. So again, you're getting even more fruitiness because it's planted on quite fertile soils, if you like, which in a hot region is quite unusual. Usually you're planting on more arid soils in a hot region and retaining more acidity. But this instead is that juicy kind of plush character in the wine. To show you a picture of Leo, just to give you a bit of familiarity with the chap behind the wine, there he is in front of some of his casks for the red wines. 2016 is an important year because that's when they celebrated 40 years for Sommelli. So he's got his Aggiorgitico grapes in there, just maturing away. People often point out his lovely bottle chandeliers just behind him, which is quite a nice arts and crafts thing going on. But he's the master of Moscofilero, so he's the man to go for if you like this style of grape. And you can find the Sommelli wines all across Greece, actually. They're quite popular, and you can find them in wine shops and corner shops and things as well. They tend to have really nice colourful labels in Greece, though, and I'm not sure why they don't import the colourful labels over here. They've got all these pretty colours when I visited Greece, but here we have the black and white label. I think it looks smart still, but yeah, you get an even more colourful version in the Mediterranean. This is the view. So lovely cycling region. You can cycle around, drink some wines. You don't need a designated driver. It's just getting up the hills after a long day of tasting that might be a bit tough. But you'll see that they're planted pretty low to the ground. They're cropping probably around 3 foot high, 4 foot high. And when you do that, you just let the canopy kind of go over the top, and then it acts like a kind of a hat to stop the grapes sunburning. So you have train the grapes to crop fairly low to the ground, canopy spruces out over the top, and it just protects all the grapes underneath there. So you don't get that bitter sweet note from the skins, because this is lees aged for a little bit, which is just where macerated on its skins and then lees aged. And when you leave it on the skins, if they're sunburnt, you get bitter sweet notes, which when you're making a plush fruity wine like this, you don't want. So the canopy management in the hot climate is actually really important. And then there's Sommelli Winery, which was built in 2006. It's quite a brand new multi-million pound winery. And inside there, all the big stainless steel tanks, some of them about 5,000 litres, so really quite large. Some of them going up to 25,000 litres, which is flexi tank size. And that's why the roofs are so tall, just to fit stainless steel tanks in. So it was all developed for the more commercial production of Sommelli. But the Nasiakos label, his family label, I think offers really good value and a great introduction to Sauvignon. The vines around the winery here are not Moscofilero. These are Aggiorgitico vines. And hopefully I'm not butchering the pronunciation of that too much. But this is where you'll find the red wines on the site. And then, as I said, the white wines are much further south and giving you that nice plush and fruity style. What do we think of the wine with the olives? Like it? Yeah?
Yeah, thought it was very good. Particularly the green olive with it rather than the Kalamata, but delicious.
In contrast, I like Kalamata. But the wine very much reminds us of sitting on a terrace in Naples, which is the local wine for Naples.
That's strong cheese, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is
very
very
nice.
isn't it?
It's lovely.
Well, that sounds like a good taste of holiday then.
Is there a big variety from one year to the next in quality? Are any particular years ones you should look out for? Or
For the olive?
No, the wine particularly. Yeah, I think the olives are probably consistent, but the wines.
So the Somalis are pretty consistent year on year. The 2019 vintage was a bit hotter than normal. So you have probably a bit more fruit character than you did in the 2018, but also less acidity because it's warmer. So the acidity is a little bit lower than it was in the 2019, but still very good year. I would say Somali for its whites is pretty reliable year on year. For the red wines, you get a bit more vintage variation, but Namia is still pretty consistent. It's dry, it's warm, lots of sunshine. And as long as you're managing the vineyard properly, it's usually pretty good. So yeah, for Somali, quite consistent. It starts being a bit more interesting when you have the smaller vineyards. So Monemvasia being still quite large, but it's on quite a small peninsula just off the mainland near Laconia. But you have a bit more vintage variation because of the sea and the cool winds coming off. But generally speaking, the bigger ones like Somali are doing pretty consistently. Zoe, is there a vintage variation in olives, or is it always the same? I'm curious if there is or not.
It's not always the same. I mean, it very much, like with grapes, olives can be, you know, if it's too hot or it didn't rain enough, then the olives are too dry. They don't have enough liquid in them to be plump. So yes, harvest on year can vary depending on, again, if there was a fruit fly, which often can leave speckles on the olive as well. So there's obviously, with every harvest, there's grading, and depending on how good the olive outcome was, that's also where the price of olive oil or olives are. So it fluctuates quite a bit, and throughout the year as well. So when there's fresh olive oil harvested, which is quite green and quite spicy on the back of the throat, that later on in the year has become milder, so the price actually changes. And when there's not enough olive oil left because we're waiting for the new harvest, the price goes up again. So olive oil can be an investment as well, depending on how much you're buying of it, obviously.
Thank you. And is it better to buy fresh olive oil or age it? Or what's the kind of thinking behind that?
Is this a blended wine or?
No, 100% Moscow Falero, single vineyard estate.
Just single,
yeah, single vineyard. Yeah, but we do have a field blend from them, but this is the single vineyard. Yeah. Is there a vintage trade for olive oil, or is it a case of buying fresh is better?
Well, it depends how you like your olive oil as well. So if you like it to be quite spicy, the younger olive oil will have that. And the longer it stays in the bottle, and again, like wine, it needs to be in a dark bottle so it's not affected by light. But olive oil can last 2 years quite happily in the bottle once it's, before it's opened. And there is also grading in the acidity of the olive oil. So if it's 0.8 or below, then it's extra virgin olive oil. If it's between 0.8 and 2.0, then it's called virgin olive oil. So there are different grades as well.
Brilliant. I'm not sure.
Zoe, question. Do all your olives come from the Peloponnese area? So
no, the olives that we harvest for olive oil is from Crete, from the area of, there's a Koroneiki, it's just outside of, sorry, I've just completely lost my words then. So it's a very large olive called a Koroneiki olive, and it produces quite a lot of juice. And it is from the area of Colimbari, so it's actually PDO, so it's protected designation of origin because it is from that area. And that's just outside of Chania, really, in Crete.
And the olives? The olive oil and the olives?
So the olives come from different parts of Greece.
Oh.
So we sell olive oil through novel wines as well as olives. And the olives themselves are the ones that you're eating today, come from different areas. So the green one is from Amphissa, which is close to Delphi, if you would have heard of that.
Delphi, yeah.
Yeah. And then the other ones are from Messenia, which has got the capital, Kalamata. which is in the Peloponnese.
Lovely. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Lovely. Okay, shall we try another wine with the olives then and see what you think of wine number 2? So we're going to go for the purple top one, which is the Monemvasia Kaidenitsa 2019. And this seems to be wildly popular at the moment. It's a new wine for us, but we're selling it quicker than we can get it in, which is very exciting. This is a very small passion project originally, founded in 1997 to revive the production of Malvasia wines. But it's now quite a large estate featuring 121 hectares of privately owned indigenous Greek grapes. So they're passionate and specializing in Greek grape varieties. And Kaidenitsa is the Greek word for quince. So hopefully, when you try this wine, you'll be getting some quince kind of flavors coming through. But if you have a look at the color just to begin with, you'll probably see it's nice and light and fresh like the first wine. But this time I want you to take me through what it smells and tastes like. So it's the Kaidenitsa from Monemvasia. What kind of things are you picking up? Hopefully quince, but I hope I haven't just covered all the other aromas that you might get. What are you thinking? Does it taste fruitier or herbier than the first one, or the same?
So eucalyptus.
Eucalyptus.
So eucalyptus.
Eucalyptus.
Yeah, getting some herbaceousness. Good.
Real neutral.
No.
So even though you have that kind of green bit on the aroma, when you taste it,
It is herbal.
Quite a nice creamy, yeah. So it's herbal, but it's quite soft.
Crusty.
When you taste it.
No, this is much more like that.
I feel like it's has a slightly salty, savory taste to it.
Got a bit of salinity and things. Interestingly, it's not far from the sea, if that has anything to influence.
Yeah, we were commenting it would go very well with fish.
Yes.
And with fish for lunch, but I wish we'd had opened this wine for lunch.
It's got lovely, lovely minerality, hasn't it?
Yes, it has. Yeah, it's got that kind of open freshness where it's
Lovely
kind
fresh.
of silky but light on the finish.
It's saline and minerals and lovely, lovely light green fruits. It's lovely, really lovely. I don't know this grape at all.
Tastes of rosemary to me.
It's quite interesting, isn't it?
Where is it?
And eucalyptus.
Kaidenitsa.
So this is, for me, I think would be lovely if with, like you say, a piece of baked fish, some olives and some chorizo or something where you have the mix of a bit of spice, the savouriness of the olives, the baked fish, a squeeze of lemon. That would be very nice with this one. So this is on the peninsula of Malleus. It's actually only
Pine trees.
80 meters above sea level.
Yeah.
Bit of pine as savouriness, yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Pine, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely got that element to it that gives it a bit of structure as well. So this isn't far off the seabed. It's actually really close to seabed. You have lovely, cool coastal winds cooling down the vines. You get that salinity that you get in the same kind of thing on the Atlantic coast in Portugal, where you have that kind of salinity and freshness as well. Obviously Mediterranean climate though, so even though you have that freshness from the sea, you are still in a really lovely, hot, sunny area. So to the top you have the Myrtine Sea, and to the bottom you have the Ligonian Gulf. I'll show you what it looks like on a map. Oh no, something happened. Oh, did I disappear then? Sorry about that. So we're down here in Monemvasia. Hopefully you can see it now. And we're just on this peninsula at the bottom of Laconia. So it's this bit here. The actual Monemvasia area is this tiny little peninsula coming off here. But the vineyards are in the main valley, just along here. And actually the Kaidenitsa vines are coming just from the edge, just down here. So really close to the sea, inside the Gulf Bay, quite flat, as you can see. So you're avoiding the altitude that you have nearer to Monemvasia Winery, where you actually have some of the Malvasia vines where it's crisper and fresher and a little bit higher up. But here you have that slightly fruitier style, just because it's a bit flatter, but you've got the lovely breezes coming off the Gulf there, which is very nice. To show you what it looks like visually, let me give you some photos. So this is George showing you the vines, and these vines here are the Kaidenitsa vines. So they're quite flat, as you can see, the rolling hills just behind, but a bit arid and dry, which you can see better in this picture. So this is actually quite sandy soil, sandy topsoil, and sandy soils give you really good top drainage, and it forces the vines to deep root. And because this is quite close to the sea level, the waterbed is a bit higher. So when the vines deep root, they get all their water from there, and you don't need to irrigate or worry about anything like that. So all the water and the drinking for the vines is rooted. But they're quite wide berth, just to stop the vines competing against each other too much, because in a hot climate, they will grow quite rapidly. And you have a really good canopy cover crop there as well, for protecting the grapes. But lovely and sunny. Apparently it's 18 degrees in the UK next week, so we can maybe get some of this here. Would be nice. There's a little top view. This is actually from the winery, so this is showing you a little bit more out to the estate's vines. And again, they're all indigenous grapes, so they're planted with Malvasia, Kaidenitsa, Vidiano, and things like that. There's the Kaidenitsa grape variety there. Some of the grapes, as you can see, have dried, and they'll all get sorted through. So when they come to the winery, all the grape bunches are sorted, and they're destemmed as well. It's all crushed, fermented, cool fermented, to retain the purity in the grapes, so you preserve all that lovely fresh and fruity flavour. In fact, everything's done pretty chilled in the winemaking process of this. It takes nearly 20 days to ferment, because they're doing it at 16 degrees, and you only take the first run juice and maximum 1 bar pressed juice. So that just means you're really gently pressing the grapes. If you press them too much, you extract too much phenolics from the skins, and you have a very dry, bitter taste to the wine. So again, it's that really gentle, preserve the purity, keep the fresh, fruity character, and then showcase what that grape variety actually tastes like in its purest form. So here you should get that really nice, fresh style, those layers of herbaceous character, and then that really nice, clean, silky saline finish. What do you think of this one with the olives? Prefer it? Prefer the other one? Like both?
Perfect with a Kalamata.
Yeah, marvelous.
A marriage made in heaven.
Good, good.
Match this one better than the one I've heard from.
Matches better.
Prefer this one?
I think it is because this is a bit salty, isn't it?
Yeah, it's got a little bit more of the kind of complementary notes rather than the contrasting ones. Yeah.
It's very much a food wine, I think. You could pair it with a lot of different foods, not just the sipping outside as an aperitif.
It's good with cheese.
It's, yeah, I can imagine it's great with cheese. Yeah.
Recommend that now.
Yeah, I mean, that's the nice thing when you get wines like this. If they go with lots of food, it's perfect, because obviously if you've got a platter of mezze out in front of you, you don't want to have to change wines on every small plate you've got. So if you can get a nice one like this, it's very good. Lovely. So they're lovely small husband and wife owned estate, Bassi and Cali. Oh no, sorry, that's Idia. So yeah, this is that nice big estate coming into the valley and producing only indigenous Greek grapes. So a really good winery to explore some lesser known varieties. So if you're quite au fait with Greek grapes, Monemvasia is the next step to start getting some adventurous styles in there for you. Okay, we're going to go to Crete next. So hopefully Zoe's going to know this a lot better than I, but I'm doing my best because I've not been to Crete yet. But this is the Ideal winery we're going to finish up with. And this is the blue top white wine. And this is a grape variety called Raphael. Now this has the most sugar in it. So the first wine had 2 grams per litre. The second wine was just under 1 gram per litre. This one is 2.2. So we're still really dry all across the board, but it just has that touch more sugar in it. And that's probably simply because you're a little bit further south, and Raphael's got a nice thick skin on it. So it's got a bit more extraction and brightness in there. And this is probably going to be, for me, I think the most interesting. I get excited by this grape because it gives you something entirely different to the other 2 wines. Color-wise, what do we think? Does it look quite similar to the other 2?
Might have a bit darker.
Yeah, a bit more depth, hasn't it? So because it's got a little bit thicker skins, a little bit more extraction, incredibly low yielding vines as well, so you get quite a lot of flavour in the glass. Have a smell and a taste. Tell me what your thoughts are.
It's got the yeasty taste.
Yeah. Well, how would you describe it?
I'm finding it much sweeter.
Yeah, getting some sweetness, flavour, some ripeness of fruit, or is it kind of a sweet, different kind of sweetness?
No, but fruity, definitely.
Yeah. For me, I kind of almost get orange rind, bit of kind of orange rind and dried fruits a little bit, maybe a bit of. The winery says licorice, but I think it's that kind of herbaceous fennel taste underneath it.
It'll go quite well with the orange and rosemary kalamata.
That sounds lovely, yeah. I think we paired it with that in the
hampers.
In the hamper, yeah. We've had a few orders for that now, so I'll have to see what people think. So do we like this one? Give me an idea, thumbs up. Not sure.
Yeah, definite thumbs up. It's delicious.
Yeah.
Really good.
Good.
Yes, really good. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it the favourite of the 3, or are you?
No, the
like
first
it for
for me.
different reasons. The first one, yeah.
I don't know. The third, I don't know.
I don't think I've ever tasted anything like this.
Toss up between the second.
Yeah.
Toss up.
Toss up between the second and third. I think this is my favourite.
That sounds like a good excuse for both, I think.
2-1 vote for the third one in this house as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll put it there for you.
I'm in the minority, so I'll drink the rest of it.
Lucky you, yeah.
Ben,
Yeah.
Ben, there was they looked like a very slight pétillant, just floating on the surface of the wine. That the bit of activity going on. Not in detriment to the wine, because I think the wine's lovely. It's very lovely sort of stone fruits and very, very full. But it just noticed a bit of swirling on the surface activity of the wine.
Interesting. It might have been bottled with a bit of sediment in there, possibly.
It's the only one with
I don't think it's VA. It's just it just seems a little bit that something's happening, but hasn't affected the wine. It's settled down now. But,
Good.
Straight away, yeah, it's quite busy.
the outside there.
Yeah, so you get that quite often in some of the Greek screw cap wines, but usually in Cork it's a lot rarer. So I imagine they've bottled it with a little bit of sediment in there, possibly.
Very nice.
Good.
Very, very nice.
Very much food.
Yeah.
Green olive, yeah.
So,
Is there a big difference between price between them all?
well, you do jump up for this one, so this is the priciest, but they're all they all float around the 15 mark. So the first one is $14.99, so it's just under 15 for the first one, the Semele. The second is $13.99, so it's the kind of best value. And then the Idia is 1650. So they're all kind of the same price.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just want to
the Idia winery that you're having now is the smallest of the three. So you're paying the extra bit due to the smaller production. And this is the one owned by Vassi and Kali, not the one before. I realise I shorten all the winemakers' names when I speak to them, which is probably a bit rude, but the actual name is Vasilis Ladaros, is the chap who makes the wine, and his wife Calliope Volitaki. I probably ruined that completely.
There's Vasilios.
Yeah, Vasilios.
So that comes from Vasilias, which is king.
Okay.
And Calliope.
Calliope. Brilliant. Thank you very much. I won't call her Callie next time I Skype her. I'll say it properly. I did the same thing with Leonardus from Somali as well. Yeah, they're lovely. They're really nice people. We met them at a trade show actually, because I've not been to Crete yet, and we chatted to them to get their story on Skype pre-lockdown, and that's when we added the Idia Vidiano and the Thrapsitheri. And the Thrapsitheri is always a favourite because it's quite different from a lot of other stuff. It's also really lovely with lightly spiced tacos and things like that. So if you want to play with a bit of spicing, this works quite nicely.
Ben, Crete has a wonderful variety of indigenous grapes, which are not grown anywhere else.
Yeah.
So
make wonderful wines, which never often emerge from Crete, let alone from Greece.
Good. Well, this is good fun to explore new things, I think. So if we can all fly again and then explore some tasty wines, that'd be good. And hopefully we can start bringing some familiar or unusual things into the UK to give you a taste of that when you're not abroad as well. So this sounds like it's one hearts, which is good. I'll talk to you a little about Crete because this is coming from Daphnis in Crete. So we're obviously in the Mediterranean here. Crete is quite lucky in the same way Sicily is, where you're surrounded by a lot of water. But actually Crete is much more interesting than Sicily in terms of topography, because you have a lot more valleys and a lot more, you play a lot more with altitude and soil types. Sicily is very volcanic, but it's actually rolling hills that are quite low altitude. Whereas in Crete, you can see you have a lot of different topography to play with. Idia is just down here in the valley that runs from the ocean over here and kind of runs all the way down here. And the wines for Idia, the Thrapsitheri vines, are just all along this side. So they're actually southeast facing. I'll put them on satellite, so it's a bit nice to look at. So they're all just along here. And southeast facing, you get plenty of light coming through, quite large plots. There they are. Look. But really nice kind of dry, arid landscape, but you have that lift up, and about every 100 meters, you're saving a little bit of cooler temperature and a degree of acidity just to keep the freshness in there. Very important for Thrapsitheri because you don't want it to over ripen. When this grape over ripens, it can get a bit jammy, a bit too much on that dried fruits character, but this has that lovely kind of flavor and freshness in there, which is really important. They're planted a little bit more like bush vines. So they are trellised, but they're not as kind of nicely planted as some of the other wineries. So this is just to introduce you to Vasilis and Calliope. And this is the rep from All About Greek Wine, who does a lot of the tours and quite interesting work on the different islands and what the Greek islands are making wine-wise. So it's worth having a look at All About Greek Wine if you can find them. They represent about 16 different wineries and vineyards, and mainly in the islands around the Aegean Sea, which is quite interesting. But these are the two who are making the wine. And again, they're specialising in indigenous grapes, so they're not planting international varieties, which is great. And this is the view out across the valley. As you can see, you can get really high altitude in some places. You won't get vines up there, but you will get vines in the foothills. And then you have these about 400 meters. These are the vines where you'll find the Vidiano, and the Rapsiferi will be slightly lower down. But as you can see, lovely arid climate. It's a mix, some clay soils, but actually a lot of shale, granite and loess. Really good for making deeper, fruitier, kind of richer extraction white wines, which is great. And obviously hot climate, you want porous soils. If you don't have porous soils in hot climates, you'll just have loads of lovely leaf canopy, but no grapes. You want the vine to struggle a little bit and actually make some grapes. But as you can see, planted pretty close to the ground again, having that leaf canopy over the top, as you do in most hot climate vineyards to protect the grapes. And then some of them planted a little bit more bush vine style, but still trellised. But you just have a slightly more expansive leaf canopy across the board.
Green Amphisa, they're lovely.
It's good, isn't it?
Thank you so much. It's lovely to hear your feedback.
So there you go, a little taste of Greece then, with some delicious olives, with some hopefully quite different wines. What is the favourite pairing then? What was the best olive and wine match for everyone here today?
I think the purple one.
Yeah, the Kaidanitsa.
Yeah. So I like this wine the best.
Yeah.
Third.
The third one best, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not muted.
Yeah.
Did the third
It's got a little bit more astringency as well. I don't know whether it's had longer with the skins or different skins or what. Yeah.
So it has, yeah. It's had longer with the skins, and it's actually had the coldest ferment of all three. So it's been on the whole fermentation process for the longest. So you do get that natural astringency. All of them are stainless steel tank though, so they're all quite fresh styles.
Yeah, my favourite pairing was the purple one with the Kalamata, but my favourite wine was the third one, the Cretan one. That was a really nice wine. We could well finish that tonight.
The green Amphisa are just a revelation. I'm familiar with the Kalamata, but the green ones I usually not so keen on, but yours are really truly lovely. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Really lovely.
We're all very, very different here, which is interesting, as it should be with wine tasting. I think the green olives fared better with the white wines overall. And for me, it was I think the floral aspects of the Moscow Filero actually matched better. Was the best marriage of, if you had to put them together. That's me. And what my colleagues want to say.
Well, I thought the first wine was more like if you were sitting in a taverna and you're going to have olives with a glass of white wine, would be the first wine. Then it would be the last wine was so heavy and meaty, I'd have to eat with it. But actually, it paired very well with the olives, better with the olives, if you see what I mean. I don't know if I'm making myself.
No, that makes sense, definitely. I think because you have the saltiness and the texture, they're definitely going to improve the wines. And as we said at the beginning, having food and wine is always the best way. And if you can treat yourself to some proper, authentic Greek olives when you do that, then we'll get a little bit closer to holiday while we're all inside.
Please, God.
Zoe, Greek olive oil is the best olive oil in the world.
I agree with you, yes.
I agree with that as well.
Yeah, I can drink olive oil straight, like with bread and a little bit of balsamic vinegar. Wow, that's so good.
Raphael's olive oil is the best Greek olive oil.
Just ask you a question?
Sorry,
the bread, sometimes I've been to tastings and with David, and they do olive oil on the side with tastings, and they do the bread. And this is probably a very silly question, but what's the best bread to taste with olive oil?
Good question.
Is it like sourdough, or is it no? I mean, because Greek bread is completely different.
Bread.
Yeah,
I'm thinking we're on white
but I
wine,
do
it's not bread.
find that in England, sourdough probably is the best option. A plain white sourdough to try olive oil with.
Okay, good.
Have we got olive oil? No, you didn't. Could do with olive oil and balsamic.
There, it kind of just complements the olive oil more. If you were to do it with a French baguette, I don't think it gets the flavors quite as well. And also, you don't want the olive oil to saturate the bread, so you want to dip it, but it not be completely soaked.
We have a charcoal bread, which is quite good for dipping as well. Yeah.
Very nice.
Black bread.
Charcoal
bread. Okay.
Yeah, give it a go.
Good for the digestion.
Goes well with oil and balsamic, yeah.
Sounds like the best way to do it is to get lots of lovely olive oil and lots of different breads.
Absolutely.
Have an afternoon of it. That sounds lovely.
Yeah, we actually made sourdough yesterday, and we had it at lunchtime today with sourdough and the olive oil from Raphael's and some balsamic vinegar. It was really nice.
Oh yeah, I did see you'd bought a bottle of the Raphael's, Wenko. Thank you.
I did. Yeah. And we really liked the third one with the Kalamata, because I've never really liked black olive before, but with this wine and the black olive, I think it changed my mind.
They do work.
Good.
They with olives, I don't know.
That's the best feedback, I think. If we can turn you into a new fan, that's ideal. Lovely. Well, it was an absolute pleasure sharing some Greek wines and some olives with you all. And thank you very much, Zoe, for joining me to chat all the expertise on the olive side.
Thank you so much. It was my pleasure.
Lovely. And we have Zoe's lovely products available in our shop. So if you're Bath locals, do pop in and say hello and have a look through, but they'll also all be online as well. So if you fancy another olive-based extravaganza with some nice wines at home, you can always put together a kind of build your own package and while away the hours in the sunny garden as well.
And do you deliver nationally?
We do, yeah. We deliver UK wide and free delivery over 95 quid as well. So
even to York.
Yeah, mine came wonderfully. I saw you on the Canadian wine event, and you were on that, and I thought, that sounds really interesting, novel wine. So I looked it up, thought, I'll chance it and see if it comes in time, and it did. It came the next day. Thank you so much. We really.
Good. No, my pleasure. Yeah, we try and get everything out really nice and quickly, so you don't have to wait too long for the nice glass of wine. So I'm pleased it arrived quickly. That's good.
Very good.
And incredibly well packed.
Yes. Yeah. We don't like breakages. So.
Yeah.
We're hot on the packaging, and it is fully recyclable as well. I know there is still a bit of plastic in there, but we're trying to move to cardboard. But it so far at the moment is the best kind of safest way to get you your wine quickly and without any damages. So yeah, I'm glad. Good.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
What I'll do is I'll just pop my email in the chat. It's just ben@novelwines.co.uk. If you've got any other questions or anything about Greek wine or the olives, although I'm sure I'll ring Zoe up to ask if it's something I don't know, please do drop me an email. But otherwise, I hope you enjoy the rest of your Saturday and
thank you.
Polishing off the wine.
Thank you very much. Enjoyed it, Ben. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Zoe.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much.